just throw a wild number out.
Sure.
You've got all of your executives in Snowfire right now. How much time do you think you've saved just in the first quarter of 2025 alone?
I think we're at least 30% or more than that productive. I don't have numbers. I'm
30% productive.
At least.
On set with Kirk Jones, founder and president of BlackLake Security.
It's so nice, whether it's on my iPhone, my iPad, my Mac in the hotel room, whatever, I can just ask the AI to build a report for me and it spits it out. There's just so many different use cases and things that you literally want to run out to every customer and go, this can help you, and you just know it's going to help.
How do you see Snowfire helping the world? How has Snowfire giving you back time? How do you see this impacting the executive life outside of work?
Freedom, man. It's going to allow me to go ahead and coach another season of my son's football. We couldn't figure out, like, what are we doing? And we added more people and it didn't really help as much, right? We had process. Maybe we need to redo process. We needed more than just people and process. And so obviously we met you. One of the first implementers of Snowfire, and it's really helped us scale our business.
Snowfire is not only in your pocket on the go as an executive for those answers, but in the boardroom in real time. So how does Snowfire produce accuracy for you? How do you trust it? When did you start to trust it? How did that build for you over time? And what does trust and accuracy mean for you with an AI?
I'll tell you what, that's a really good question. At first, when we put it in, you want to go, are you sure? And you go build your own report and check it.
Okay.
And it's right on.
Thank you everyone for joining us today. It's a pleasure to be here on set with Kirk Jones, founder and president of BlackLake Security, one of Snowfire's customers and actually running an amazing company. Today, we want to talk a little bit about what's happening with scaling business in the age of AI, being a leader of a company that is growing so quickly, and in general, leveraging new technologies, new ways of thinking, and kind of getting into that kind of psychology. So Kirk, thank you so much for being here today with us.
Absolutely. My pleasure, man. I love this.
At your home, I might add. Thank you for hosting. It's a great, beautiful spot.
Thank you.
So there's a lot to talk about in the era of AI. So much is happening so quickly. But one of the things that I think is the most powerful conversation to have today is scaling. Are we scaling our growth? Are we scaling margins? Are we scaling customers and retaining them? And, as we talk about like engineering as well, how do you scale engineering? There's just so much scaling to be talked about. So I would like to open up today's conversation with you to talk about scale in the age of AI. Being more specific, here's the question I'd like to start with. You've had a very successful business since around 2016. It is very well run and continues to be and continues to grow. Can you talk to us a little bit about where you've come from, how you've scaled, and then kind of this AI implementation that you've undergone with the business, through the business, in the business, and how that's kind of changing and shaping the landscape for BlackLake?
Absolutely. Well, at inception, we had this really strong energy, right? And my partner and I and our team that we had at the time, we had so much energy. We just went and we met with our customers and we executed, and we grew really, really fast. And we added people, which solved a lot of the scalability issues out of the gate, is just add people, right? And we grew really fast for about 3 or 4 years. And then obviously going through the pandemic and things like that, we figured out, okay, how do we scale again, right? So we added more people. We added process, which helped. And we scaled and we grew to a point of around 2022 where we did the best we've ever done as far as execution and customers and revenue. And then we got stuck again and we couldn't figure out, like, what are we doing? And we added more people and it didn't really help as much, right? We had process. Maybe we need to redo process. And what we realized is we needed more. We needed more than just people and process. And so obviously we met you. One of the first implementers of Snowfire, and it's really helped us scale our business. The AI that's built in is, an exponential effect for our company. Even from a sales and financial perspective, just me speaking from an executive standpoint, has been great because instead of building, complicated, intricate reports, we're able to just ask the AI to build a report while we're on a Zoom call discussing what we're going to do next as a leadership team. Where do we add people? Who do we add? Do we do more marketing? What's the most effective marketing we can do, right? And it's coming back with answers, and it's coming back at real time, right? So we were able to use the tool that you guys have built at Snowfire to help us scale. And I'm, proud to report that in 2025, we've done the revenue that we've done all of last year by the end of March. Now, I'm not saying it's all Snowfire, Greg, but it has helped our leadership team be more effective. Our people that work at BlackLake are using it as well in their daily jobs. And, you guys have been great when we've asked for features and function, and it's helped us scale, and we're going to have the best year we've ever had.
It's an amazing story. I appreciate you sharing that.
Sure.
There's a number of components of that story that I think I'd like to dig into a little bit with you.
Okay.
In the world of running companies, we've often been kind of broken into three components: the kind of the trinity of business management, which is people, processes, and technology, right?
Right.
I'd like to go in reverse order.
Okay.
I think we want to save people for last.
Okay.
That's one of the most interesting parts of the AI conversation. We'll save that for last.
Okay.
Let's start with the easy one, which is technology. If we look at technology that you have implemented in your business, and you've been around for a while running this company, and you're a value-added reseller that touches so much technology.
Right.
So
Yeah.
the question here is, what are you seeing in the shift in technology scaling? How is the shift affecting your business? What decisions have you made? And I kind of want to get you talking a little bit about that technology shift. It could be anything from preferences to margin outcomes to productivity to efficiency. But I'd like to get your thoughts on that in the age of scaling BlackLake using AI.
Internally, right? Or
Maybe you can expand. Yeah, I would say both, but let's start internally.
Okay. Specific use case. We brought a new CFO online, and you're going to meet him later today. I think he's going to come over, but he was able to come on board and get up to speed really fast.
Okay.
It's hard to do, right? And he started by using Snowfire. Now I don't know if that was by accident, but it's helped him get a handle on how our books look, even. How to work with his team, because we already had a controller, we already had a financial analyst.
Right.
And so that's really helped us internally from a financial perspective. Some of the conversations he's having with some of the external financial people we work with as well has gone a lot smoother because he's had this tool.
Okay.
So having the AI as an assistant help him work through his daily job versus having to build all these reports. And then my partner and I task him all the time with reporting, right? Financial reporting. And he has done an amazing job as far as what we've had in the past.
Yeah.
Over what we've had in the past, compiling these reports in real time. So that's a real time financial use case for a new hire coming on board. And it's like he's been here for 2 years already because he was able to onboard, scale his job up, and be effective immediately. And it was amazing to watch.
How fast would that have gone without something like a Snowfire in this case?
Well, not to be boring, but just the back and forth phone conversations and where do I find this data and what do you want in this report and how do I go build this report, and the Zooms and the conversations have cut down 75%.
Whoa.
So it's
Okay.
a lot more efficient.
That's massive.
Yeah.
Do you, you're speaking about a CFO.
Correct.
So this is the inside baseball on the entire business, the financial health, the margin,
Yes.
the growth. That's an interesting statement. Do you think it's connected to your growth that you've seen already in this first quarter that you said is lightning in a bottle?
I do.
Okay.
I do. And he's working hand in hand with our CRO to get deals done for our customers. And
Wonderful.
there's a decision making there, right?
Do you
The CRO's using the tool as well.
yeah, it's a really interesting story you're describing. So we're dancing around the executive table right now, having very executive conversations inside of a platform, right? Kirk, that's a very interesting and insightful cognitive set of analysis as a business owner, ahead of a very very sales focused and growth focused company. So you're celebrating the success of growth. Nearing the first quarter, saying that based on the numbers, saying that you're looking like a 4x of last year, which is really cool to hear. So back to this thing of scaling. One of the things I want to ask about is how you scale sensitive conversations, sensitive discussions. We are in the age of AI, which is giving us wild transparency into data, activities, behaviors, financial outcomes. And I liken these to the growth, margin, and retention components of every business. Can you talk a little bit about your experience in scaling sensitive discussions, scaling sensitive questions? You talk about your business partner, talk about your CFO, your CRO, and yourself as kind of these individuals who are asking these questions. Can you talk a little bit about how the game has changed for you in using Snowfire and without maybe sharing too much because this is sensitive stuff? Can you talk about the nuances of that?
As humans, we're imperfect beings, right? We can get emotional. And so a lot of the meetings you have behind closed doors, whether it's manager to individual contributor or whether it's a leadership meeting, can get pretty heated, especially when you're talking about efficiency and you're talking about work ethic, I guess is the right way to put it, right? How hard are you working, right? Are you not making your number? So a great example would be a manager talking to the individual contributor. You're not making your numbers per se because you're not meeting with your customers, or right, things like that. So what I'm talking about is different types of statistical views into activity, right? And so the last thing we want to do is treat people like kids and be big brothers, but we need to be meeting with our customers. That's what we do. We're a customer service company at BlackLake Security. And if we're not meeting with our customers, whether it's virtually or in person, then we're not doing our job. And so instead of having to have those uncomfortable conversations and then, the dealing with the emotional effects afterwards, you can just see it.
Interesting.
You can just ask the AI and just see the activity that you need to see. And then that way it prepares the manager in advance for a really constructive, efficient conversation where he can go straight to the point about activity levels. And it may be good news. It may be, wow, your activity has really done well and it shows in the numbers. I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just saying that it's allowed us to be more efficiency. And when you're more efficient, you scale.
Yeah. A lot of the things,
That's a good example.
it's a wonderful example. Yeah. And it's a very growth minded example. One of the things that we've seen in software, Silicon Valley, there's been and has been, and I think it's changing a little bit, but there's been these metrics that run and guide businesses. So in the software world, you have the rule of 40. It's been a really important management metric. One of the ones that I think is manifesting very quickly in the age of AI is the revenue per employee model,
Right.
and kind of scaling that as we shift a little bit from sensitive question asking in the platform and having it be isolated and contained, secure, having it all be there and getting very quick, accurate answers back. Let's talk a little bit about scaling finances.
Okay.
We talked a little bit about sales. Let's move into the financial focus. And I know we're going to talk with your CFO a little bit later today, but for you as a business owner, harnessing, and you're traveling around the world all the time, harnessing the ability to ask a quick question and get a quick answer. Throw out an example of something that you've come to Snowfire Mobile and just wanted to know on the cusp going to the airport. What are some of the questions that you've just quickly asked of the AI of all of your business data on the go?
We still have these team Zoom calls where we, get sales updates from all the people, and then they compile that into forecasts and we see how the numbers are doing. And then inevitably we go back and forth asking for more, more reporting, more questions. And then, or I might even spend time if I've got downtime in an airport or whatever to build my own reports in our tools and, whatever. It's so nice, whether it's on my iPhone, my iPad, my Mac in the hotel room, whatever, I can just ask the AI to build a report for me and it spits it out. And then from a leadership perspective, it helps me double check forecasts as well. I mean, not that my managers aren't doing a good job building their reports and their tools. But I can just ask Snowfire and I could do a comparative analysis. I can pick up the phone, I can call my manager, and I can talk about if there's any differences. Sometimes it's spot on, right? And so just having that tool there to help me not just double check people or whatever, like I'm making it sound, but it helps me make intelligent decisions, man.
Yeah.
And that leads to efficiency. It leads to speed and execution, which leads to scalability and growth. So it's been wonderful so far, and I think it's going to do nothing but get better as you guys grow at Snowfire. I'm excited, man.
That's a really awesome answer, and I love the story of that. That's the story of the modern executive on the go with access to all of their business data at their fingertips on any device in real time.
Right.
Seems like a promise we've been waiting for about 20 years.
For sure.
Yeah, that's really cool. As we talk about changing the game for you, let's talk about time.
Okay.
There's the most important thing that any of us has that we can either give or probably that we value the most is time. How has Snowfire giving you back time?
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, I touched on it just briefly a little bit ago, but the phone calls and the Zooms are overwhelming nowadays. I mean, we're all virtual. We're on not all virtual, but mostly virtual, all moving around the world, as we talked about earlier. And, I can ask the AI in whatever aspect of the business financially, how's that marketing campaign doing? How's the website hits doing? How are the numbers doing this week? How does that compare to last week? How does it compare to last year, that week, last year? On my own. I can literally hit dictation and on my cell phone, ask questions, and I could look at the numbers and I could go, oh, wow. Okay. So that saves me, hey, let's set up a 30-minute Zoom and get everybody on there and talk about the numbers and show me a report. And that also saves my leaders time to have to build the reports.
Yeah.
Right. Again, another report. I mean, I remember as a leader, when I worked at a company, like it was horrible. I'm in motion too. I've got meetings too. And then now I got to stop, pull over, whatever. And I got to build you a report.
Are you saying this is a Nike moment? A just ask Snowfire Nike moment?
It could be, although we don't want to be sued by Nike because you didn't get permission to ask them. But
I don't disagree, but I do think it's a better brand.
I do too.
So that's a really interesting and insightful thing. So if you were to just throw a wild number out,
sure.
You've got all of your executives in Snowfire right now. How much time do you think you've saved just in the first quarter of 2025 alone?
I think we're at least 30% or more than that productive. I don't have numbers. I'm just
30% productive.
At least.
It's massive.
At least.
Okay. Is it orchestration productivity? Is it time?
I would say the reason why we're not more than that is because we've got to add in more connectors, give Snowfire more data, and do our part to have the system be even more, I don't know, not more better, but more productive for us, right? So it's our issue, not Snowfire's, that we're not even more productive and efficient using it.
Yet.
We're working on it.
Yeah.
We're working.
So that's interesting. So what you're describing is a giant snowball effect of productivity by adding.
Intended.
Yeah, right. By adding more data, the snowball effect grows exponentially in a way that produces insights. That's really cool. You're a very busy family man. Let's talk about the future. We've got children to think about. There's a lot of concerns about AI, what it is, what it can be, and maybe what it will be. If you were to paint a beautiful vision for the future, and considering your family in this answer, considering those that you are, even in non-business, thinking about, how do you see Snowfire helping the world in the way in which we're doing what we're doing? And I know I'm asking you about time here. I'm going to lead the witness a little bit, but how do you see this impacting the executive life outside of work?
Freedom, man. And there's never enough time in the day. I think one of the biggest problems that society as a whole has today is I don't have time to do what I want to do. I'm always doing what I have to do, right? And so this tool, AI in general, but obviously Snowfire, focusing on that, will allow me to at least the work bucket of my life, make it a lot more efficient,
Oh, I love that.
a lot more scalable to be able to execute, to do more with less. I'm trying to dig a swimming pool with a shovel, and now I've got a bulldozer, right?
Okay.
Um,
Gonna build a lot of swimming pools.
and I can do it. I can do it in less time. I
Yeah.
can go deeper and stronger and better. And I think that is a really good, crazy example of what the platform is going to do for my business, but more importantly for my personal life, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
It's going to allow me to go ahead and coach another season of my son's football, right?
That's right.
And have time to do it, because as my business grows, it's a good problem to have, but it gets harder and more challenges and more issues as you add people and process and products and more partners and all the P's. Things get more hectic. So there's always a balance of, my partner and I talk about it all the time, like when's enough, right? Because it does affect your personal life. You bring a good point. But with the implementation of what you guys bring at Snowfire, it's going to help us do a lot more with less and have a lot more free time. It's a good point.
We've waited in technology so long for the AI moment. This, I do not want to call it a singularity moment, but I do think we can use that from the movies to align with how we're talking about this like precipice that we're on. This moment you've described is a busy executive running a company that is doing exceptionally well, looking at technology, which we've covered, to improve process, which you've mentioned.
Mhm.
Let's talk a little bit about people now. Let's get into the part where a lot of folks are questioning what AI will do for the future of humankind, but really people and jobs. I think a lot of folks are very hesitant about what's happening with the changing of jobs in the workforce.
Sure.
Talk to me a little bit about your vision and make it relative to Snowfire, but what is your vision for the modern workforce using a tool, a platform, a solution like a Snowfire? And maybe just keep it to the next 5 years since things are changing so quickly. What is the vision that you have for executives running AI transformed businesses with solutions like ours?
There's so many use cases that I could be here for an hour talking about it, but I will think about the boardroom. I'll think about, the
Yeah.
president with his cabinet, whatever, you know, uh, uh, example you want to use. Um, Being able to have each one of those people in that boardroom and that leadership meeting, uh, have this platform in their pocket, literally, or at their disposal to do all the things we've already talked about, as far as being able to make really intelligent decisions faster, do more with less to free up their time, have a more prepared, intelligent answer, allows each component of our business to scale, to be more efficient. Um, and you put it all together, and it helps the company grow and be most importantly, be more effective and better for our customers. Right. So whether it's the CFO, the CMO, the marketing person, I mean, we can go off on a marketing conversation. Like,
Yes,
what's the best way to spend marketing dollars? Because that's a problem.
we
You
sure
can
could.
dump a lot of money at marketing and have it not do much. Right. Or you can put a little bit into it and have it do a lot. What kind of decisions? How can Snowfire help me make that marketing decision? Right.
Yeah, the quality versus quantity
Correct.
conversation of
So if you're
expenditure.
arming each one of those executives with their own version of that tool, your platform, each one of them helping them make intelligent decisions that are critical to the company,
Yeah.
that trickle down to the people that are in the field with the customers, and the other way, bidirectional, taking feedback from our customers back up through the contributors to the leadership team, to ownership. It's a cohesion story as well, right?
Yes. Great word.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
It's like cognitive cohesion.
That's it.
I love that.
Our whole message at BlackLake is the full transparency and clarity with our customers. We literally have our customers affect the uh, culture of our company. So
That's so
this
cool.
helps us make these decisions.
Kirk, the way your mind thinks about running a business is a really interesting set of introspection. And you mentioned a couple of seconds ago the boardroom. And businesses that are well run have kind of the top of the pyramid that we know of as the boardroom, and they're run from the boardroom. Uh, with a little bit of insider knowledge of what we're doing and how we're affecting the boardroom, I'd like to say something about one of the dreams that we had,
Okay.
and then I'd like to ask you a question.
Sure.
One of the dreams we had initially when building Snowfire was to build an amazing piece of software
Okay.
that could eventually become a piece of hardware. And we have a vision for a very small device with the Snowfire logo on it in every boardroom on the planet, listening to the conversations, accessing the real time data from the business, and pulling in all of the external military style signals intelligence about that business, the hyper contextualized information, correlation, and combination all in one spot at the same time. So as people are speaking, it's pulling up graphs. As people are making forecasts, it's aligning with reality of the data and providing standard deviation analysis above and below the trend line of what they're describing. These types of beautiful visions for the future are the things that we are thinking about for the boardroom of the future. So here's the question. How does Snowfire impact boardrooms today? You have a boardroom meeting tomorrow. How would you use Snowfire today to prepare for it? And how will Snowfire impact that boardroom meeting tomorrow?
Excellent. Excellent. Throughout my career, all the way today is no different. It's just, 2025 and better tools. What's worse, the meeting itself or the meeting preparation? The boardroom meeting preparation is intense, man. It's
Yeah.
presentations, it's spreadsheets, it's whatever. And yeah, you've got people to help you but you're still compiling, and it's amazing amounts of pressure, time, and stress, and you're away from your family, like you talked about earlier. So today, using Snowfire to help with some of that preparation has been amazing. And I don't mean have it build spreadsheets for me per se, but not having to build the spreadsheet, right? Having it go and find the data from our various systems through connectors and build you those reports and even build you the graphs to show has been amazing. And like I said earlier, I'm excited to see where you guys go towards that future. Because if you could do it real time, imagine a meeting where there is no preparation, where you walk in with your thoughts and if you're the individual contributor, you can just tell your story to the manager and have the manager tell the story to me or whatever. And I'll walk in and we talk to the board, and
Yeah.
it's all just built.
A
I
giant
see where you're going.
a giant harmonized set of roots that lead to the trunk of the tree that produce the leaves that produce the flowers in the meeting. Yeah, there's this
Right.
massive amount of combined collaborative information that rolls up to be what runs these
And
companies.
this is beautiful and wonderful because now we're getting very high in the sky with this conversation, but like the humans are the stories.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. So one of the things that I think is really interesting too is you talk about time and saving time. For Snowfire users at the worker level, let's kind of go through org analysis
Okay.
a little bit. At the worker level, what do you think is the greatest outcome for users with selective permissions into certain types of data across the business, whether it be sales, marketing, ops, customer success, financial teams? We're going to edge into a little bit of a discussion about what does Snowfire maybe replace with this conversation a little bit. What can we replace? Where can we save money, time, increase efficiency? So as you look at that worker layer, what's your vision for Snowfire in the worker layer in your company and others, maybe even your customers in the market currently today?
Well, internally, for sure, I mentioned this earlier, having each leader, each manager, each individual contributor armed with their version of Snowfire
Yeah.
because of permissions and everything you mentioned. Obviously, we're a security company. We need to have that data visible to only those who need their daily data, if you will. is going to make everybody more efficient, more effective, and better at their jobs. So do more with less, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So I can get into specifics, but even a salesperson analyzing which customer to go call on, whether it's marketing data, whether it's wisdom from the manager, or whether it's a relationship that somebody else had. There's data out there to help them analyze. Is this guy even worth calling on?
So you're also describing a world where the signals intelligence engine from
There
Snowfire
it
is
is.
giving kind of like real-time market fodder on either a customer or something of an impact event that needs to be shared.
Well,
And
now you're getting into personalities, Greg.
let's go.
Is this rep going to clash with this person when he goes and meets them?
Yeah. Well, there's
I mean,
there's that.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about that. How have you seen the Snowfire executive agent on your behalf? You have your own agent.
Yeah.
Every one of your users in the company has their own agent. How have you seen your agent working on your behalf when you're not there? What is it doing for you? You get your coffee in the morning and
no. Right now, my favorite part of it is just instead of going into our CRM and constantly running reports and checking the dashboards and the numbers, I just ask Snowfire to do it for me. I'm just being honest. It's my favorite.
So you're about the time savings.
The time savings. I love numbers and revenue and dollar signs. And
what kind of questions did you ask? Give us 3 that you asked right out the gate. What are the most frequent?
First thing I want to do is I want to call it Kevin.
Kevin, okay.
And it fought me a little bit. It was like, no, I want to just help you. I want to help you save your time and money. And I said, no, you're Kevin. All right, I'm Kevin.
Okay.
But anyway, my favorite question to ask it is, how many opportunities did we close this week? And then what I love is the ability to stack those questions. You're not starting from zero every time you ask a question. With the systems that we have before, we have to stack questions. We have to ask more detailed, longer questions. This, you just keep stacking. So what I mean is, how much did we sell this week in revenue? Okay. Who are the customers we sold to this week in revenue? Okay. How does that compare to last week? Who were the customers last week we sold? Okay. What about the same time last year? And you just keep asking. It's like you're talking to another human. You just keep stacking these questions, and then you get all your answers. And then you're like, okay, put it all together for me in a graph.
Is this executive stream of consciousness? Are you getting answers?
I'm getting answers.
Okay.
And it seems to this is kind of strange, but it gets to know me. So it knows how I want the answers, and it's a little easier. So I don't have to ask it as long next time, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, preferred.
Yeah.
You get these preferential prompts.
It doesn't mind if I call him Kevin.
Oh,
so,
yeah. But it does mind if you don't get the answer you want.
It does.
So how does Snowfire produce accuracy for you? How do you trust it? When did you start to trust it? How did that build for you over time? And what does trust and accuracy mean for you with an AI?
I'll tell you what, that's a really good question. At first, when we put it in, you want to go, are you sure? And you go build your own report and check it.
Okay.
And it's right on.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes the dates might be off, and you got to make sure that, that I didn't mess up. Sometimes you start second guess, did I mess up in my report? Right. But I trust but verified, right?
Sure.
I'm a trust but verify guy. And it's right most of the time. And when it's not, it's something I didn't ask it right, or I didn't put it in right, or whatever. And then it gets to know me, and I don't ask it wrong as much or whatever. And all of a sudden things are right. That makes sense.
Kirk, one of the things that I think is really interesting about talking with you is that I get to see a version of a business that's seeing hyper growth. And as an AI company just getting started, it's really insightful to learn from executives who are experiencing hyper growth. So congratulations first to you on that. And I know you've been at it for a while, but you're seeing a new momentum in the business, and it's so cool to describe and to hear. I want to do some rapid fire with you.
Okay.
And maybe if I could give mine, you give yours, we'll do a little bit of CEO banter.
Sure.
I think it'd be interesting to just throw out 3 questions and just as fast as we can give the responses and what comes to mind. So number 1 valuable data source in your business.
Salesforce, CRM.
Interesting. GitHub engineering.
Interesting.
I love GitHub engineering. The amount of metrics we get back, the velocity analysis, like we're building AI and it's the most important thing. And I get back those answers. Why do you like Salesforce so much?
I just love numbers, revenue, dashboards. We have a stack ranking dashboard where I get to see how my reps are doing. I love the numbers.
I love that. Okay. So favorite metric?
Revenue.
Just total revenue, monthly, daily, weekly revenue.
All of the above.
Cumulative.
And the tying that back to gross profit.
Okay. That's a wonderful answer. I think you just said cumulative revenue over time. You're watching that graph grow.
Yes.
Okay. I love that. Mine would be revenue per employee.
I like that.
Revenue per employee. That's the AI-minded version where you're trying to get just AI to do as much as you can and then have superhumans.
I love
superhumans augmented and enabled by AI. Yeah. Okay. Favorite time of the day to use Snowfire?
First thing in the morning. Sometimes while I'm on, let's say a Monday morning Zoom call that's sales oriented, like, and while I'm watching, I'm not on every one of them, but while I'm watching the manager run the call, ask Snowfire the question that he just asked the rep.
Ooh, like, hang on a minute. Did you just refer to the Snowfire engine as a third-party BS meter?
Yes, it works. It works.
That's so great. That's really interesting.
It works.
My favorite time of day is right around 7 o'clock. After dinner with the kiddo. I do not like being a micromanager CEO.
Yeah.
I don't need, and we don't need to be with Snowfire. Everything's plumbed into it. So at the end of a day, I can ask the questions of how did we do with sales? How did we do with marketing? How is our website performing? How is GitHub and the engineering team doing? Everything is in one place. How many tickets did we close today? All of it. So I can just kind of come in and go, boom, there it is.
That's great.
If you could get one feature added to Snowfire that would help you, what would it be?
Well, not to be like a guy that loves movies, but I would love to have it be an interactive voice conversation.
Oh, wow.
Where I'm not having to even, obviously there's dictation. There's ways to almost mimic that, but I would love to just be a conversation like this.
I think I'm going to star that feature request. I love that.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful future, a conversational.
Between you and me.
That's a very beautiful future. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even if I'm a rep.
Yeah, why not?
If I'm an individual contributor and I've got a job to do, I want to have a conversation.
Well, you've built the brain. You've pushed all of your data into it. In real time, it's pulling from the external world anything relative to the business.
That's it.
It is the business brain, so why wouldn't you want to talk to it? I love that.
That's it.
I actually don't think I can beat that. That's a heck of a feature ad. So I'll give you the one that I think is really interesting.
Okay.
For every company that takes on Snowfire, I think there should be a easy button to tell you where I can save money today.
Yeah.
Anywhere. And just run through every bit of analysis, gather as much as you can, and then give me a easy button for understanding where we can save money today.
Do you realize that we actually have a practice around that with our customers of being, we call it the easy button.
Okay.
Where we help them be more efficient. We have a life cycle management practice, all this stuff I won't get into, but you could help us with that practice internally be better, stronger, faster, more efficient. So as far as an offering to our customers,
what is
my brain's going all over the place.
You're talking about lifecycle management. That's the amassing of just way too much software that's bloating
or hardware,
business.
Solutions, all that stuff you mentioned. Yeah, sprawl.
Did you just create a new tagline like "kill the bloat"?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's massive.
Much.
Well, it's interesting. Recent study came out. There's somewhere this is a tech company study, but there's somewhere in the range of 15 to 21%, so call it 18% of cost of goods sold that is the burden on the business now for technology, data, software, hardware, storage. And now you've added even probably the most expensive of all of them, which is GPUs and processing. So that like whole cost of goods sold component goes up. And the CFOs that we've talked to, and this may be something we ask, Clay later today, but the CFOs we've talked to are inundated with new software purchase requests. And the question is like, are you getting enough out of what you've already purchased?
Right.
How would you know? You
Right.
see that a lot in your business as well, and maybe even with your customers with the clarity model?
Right. Is it truly a technology shift and we're behind the times and we need to upgrade and we need to buy this new stuff or whatever? Or is it just
Right.
bloated?
Right.
Right.
Okay, rapid fire
Are you
question.
hungry or just want to eat more?
Are you hungry or you just want to eat more? That's every layer of the business, though, if you
Right.
really extrapolate
I'll
that.
feed you when you're hungry, but if you just want to eat more, then no, we're good.
Okay, rapid fire.
Yep.
What scared you about starting with Snowfire?
Well, AI in general, just the overall thought, and I'm not alone here. Millions of people have the same issue. Is like, well, number one, you talked about it earlier. Is it right? Is it correct? Is it making the wrong calculation and spitting out incorrect answers? Right. Number two, not to be movie again, but is it going to take over the world and cause people to lose jobs and things like that? So the human factor,
The dystopian
right?
future.
Right.
Yeah. Kirk,
Does that make sense?
what does Snowfire remind you of? Like when you think of Snowfire, like everyone refers to like movies or books or life experiences. Like what is Snowfire? How do you relate to Snowfire? What is
Well,
this
let me
thing?
ask you. If you ask me that, let me ask you. What's the difference between Snowfire and some other AI platform that's out there? There's a zillion of them. What I mean is, like, the other day we pulled up one on my son's cell phone, and I could talk to it and ask it questions. And we went on vacation and had a stomach issue, and it was like, is this food poisoning or is this a stomach bug? And
Okay.
well, what did you this and what did you that? And we answered the questions and it said, you most likely have food poisoning because this is the differences. So I literally was talking to like almost, it was kind of scary. It was like a doctor in my pocket. Now, obviously trust but verify, especially when it comes to health. But we figured out that and it was really good for my wife because me and my son had it, but she didn't. And it was something we traced back to being a little
Very relatable moment.
ill. Yeah.
Is it called Pocket
Something
Doc?
we ate.
Pocket Doc?
No,
It's really interesting.
it was AI that we also asked like the score of the football game too.
So that's an external AI that's gathering
Right.
web data and gathering basically the advancement of Google search. It's Google search on steroids,
Okay,
right?
got it.
The difference for us is that Snowfire is all of your internal business
And
data.
Yep.
So the difference in your story would have been that AI is looking at the outside world to give you an answer. Snowfires would have actually looked at the inside world and said, yep, here's your problem inside of your body because you ate this particular food poisoning. So the relativity is the outside world AI is what you've described.
Oh,
Ours is the inside world AI. Now, what's interesting about that is that the inside world AI is everything from your blood pressure to your pulse to your all of your cholesterol.
Okay.
And so as we continue this analogy, that's your sales data, your marketing data, that's your financial data, that's your operational data. That is all of the components that run the business. And you have, in the smaller companies, you have around 50 applications that usually run the business.
Right.
In mid-market companies, it jumps to around 220. And in the enterprise, it approaches 2,000. It's a very interesting scaling factor.
Right.
But you still have these like massive silos of data. And so when we look at what Snowfire is as a huge differentiator, it is all of that inside of the business data contextualized in real time. Now, I have to say, we do bring outside world data in too,
Okay.
because when we look at the health of a company, we need to know what's happening outside of it. The technology that we're using has risks, updates, changes. The suppliers that we're using, the partners, all of the way in which all of the news that's relative to our business and our industry, we source all of that in as well.
Okay.
So you kind of get this combined inside AI that's an expert at the data of your business with augmented AI from outside of the world in real time to harness news and changes. So you kind of have the brain.
Right.
That AI you're talking about is brilliant, by the way, and it's looking at massive external data to get you a great answer for what sounds like food poisoning.
Right.
And what we want to do with Snowfire is to help identify food poisoning before it happens.
I love that. That is a great answer.
It's a long one. Um,
Yeah,
and it's an analogy, but the idea is that there's the inside business data, there's the outside the business data, and then there's your role in the business, and it's all tailored around those 3 things.
I love that, man. I love that. Yeah, it's exciting, and it we've already been using that in all and not all aspects, but in several aspects of our business, and we continue to grow with the platform as well. So I'm excited to hear that.
Where do you see Snowfire going? Where do you see it helping? We could zero into a couple industries. Where do you see it helping the most in the shortest amount of time?
Well, I've been focusing on a lot of how it's helped our company in real time, and like I mentioned earlier, the efficiency part of our scalability plan that we have is off the charts. We thought we were going to 2x, we might 4x what we've ever done this year with our customers. So, but what I'm really excited about is being able to talk about Snowfire with our customers and how we can help their business, even the Fortune 50,
Yeah,
because
okay.
now you're in a whole nother universe uh, as far as the different use cases and the different ways that Snowfire can help customers in each individual vertical. We talked about a medical example. Um, you know, there's amazing examples in all industries. I mean, we could talk about oil and gas and energy.
For sure.
There's
Financial.
yeah, there's all kinds of different solutions that maybe go out and scrape website data or pipeline data, things externally and things like that. But um, nobody doing it in real time, AI wise, that I know of. Yeah, and then also correlating that with the internal data, like you mentioned, being able to build some, not just reporting, like I mentioned about how we've used it internally, but make intelligent decisions and correlate that with the reports to have it be just, well, more intelligent. Right. So there's just so many different use cases and things that you literally want to run out to every customer and go, this can help you. And you just know it's going to help them. The question I have is, can we ask questions quick enough and have them be good questions? Well, it sounds like the AI can help us. Well, have you thought about this question? I've watched it in the dashboard or in my dashboard that you guys have helped me with. Well, have you thought about this question to ask it? Like, in other words, it's not even depending on me to ask the question anymore. That's pretty cool.
That's a really cool thing.
Prompts are there for me.
Yeah, that's right. And it's learning with you.
Yeah.
The patent that we're pending on, thanks to our wonderful team at Pillsbury, is called adaptive decision intelligence.
Love that.
And so you're describing a process of a human being harnessing massive amounts of internal data, leveraging massive amounts of external real-time contextualized information, and sitting in a chair that's relative to their part of the business. A CFO asks different questions than a CRO.
Mhm.
And the agent that's dedicated to that user starts to learn and become tuned and tailored and personalized around that user, their style, the questions they're asking, the metrics relative to them, all of the things that help them become the intelligent decision maker that you're describing. Yeah.
Yeah. The biggest thing that I know you guys are going for this already. I'm really big on the human aspects of AI. And what I mean is it's got to be, I mentioned about having a conversation between me and the platform, but it's got to be a conversation that I want to have. It's got to be with a person that I want to talk to, right? As far as personalities.
Kevin's becoming a heck of a person, you're saying?
Do I jive with my AI assistant that's helping me
That's an interesting conversation.
from a connection relationship level?
You're
A customer.
you're describing something that could be described as the modern chief of staff in a personnel.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a unique statement. How would you build your chief of staff to do and become what you're asking? Like, what would you need it to do? What would you need it to be?
I need it to be, first off, let's start with the human level. I need it to be something I want to talk to. Cause like every time if I interface with the AI and it's brash and is rude and
Sure.
whatever, I'm not going to use it.
Or if it doesn't have good answers.
Well, that's the number one thing. I need it
We're
to,
past
I
that
need it-
now.
Well, what I'll do is like when I'm trying to say is earlier I mentioned voice. If you don't even bring in the voice if you can't bring the personality with it. So
Okay.
what I'm trying to say is keep it keyboard to question, very logical, X's and O's or ones and zeros, right? What I mean by that. Just ask questions and just give me the answer. Let's calculator, right? But if you want to bring in a voice, it better have my personality.
There's so much that we've built into Snowfire that we don't talk about this
Right.
personalization,
Right.
the dedicated
Right.
emulation agents that we've built. We talk so much about the data you have inside the company that you're sending us, or the signals you get from outside of the company that give you informational analysis in real time. Yeah, we do that.
Right.
That's done. But we don't talk a lot about the agents and how they get to know the user, how you can tune and train them,
That's it.
and how we personalize around those. Can we talk a little bit about
That's
that?
one of the most exciting things about AI in general that I'm looking forward to
Okay.
is that right there. It's
Let's-
this human relationship, personality, voice, the things you saw in the movies, right? I can't wait for that.
It's close.
Okay.
It's close.
But that's that's hard.
It is hard.
That is a dimensional aspect where I think you guys are at now, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that information needs to be correct. We trust but verify the information that spits out, and let's make it just a very mechanical, robotical, whatever analogy you want to use, conversation until we can get the personality stuff right. Does that make sense? Am I making sense with that?
You've had early access to Roadmap with
Right.
Snowfire
Right.
long before other folks did.
Okay.
I think there's been some dreaming happening for a bit. What you're alluding to is a system that we have for determining the intellectual priority of an executive's decision-making
it.
style.
That's exactly.
There are 3 of them that we basically source upon, which is, and we're going to go in reverse order. There are instinctual or intuitive intellectual decision makers.
Okay.
There are folks who walk into something and they know that it's not right and they want no part of it and they won't say anything. They're just going to ghost it and be gone. There's that kind of style.
Okay.
There's the intuitive, but by the way, those are body types.
Yeah.
They're walking sensors. There are emotional intellectual decision makers, folks who are highly competitive, passionate, emotional, but also very hard to stop. They're just absolutely powerful. And they have a very unique style of decision making. And then there's the one that we think of the most, especially in the Western world, when we talk about the intellectual decision making. We think when we hear intellect that it's only the brain, and it's just not the case.
Right.
The brain is a logic and processing center of intellect.
Mhm.
It is not the only one.
Good point.
And so our system, and you know the insider knowledge on this, our system trains the user agent that's dedicated to that user around these intellectual decision-making styles. Are you using your head more than your heart or your gut? What is the way in which you're making decisions? Now, this is important because you talk about AI giving back a human component to all of us.
That's it.
Like, there's going to be changes and it's going to be disruptive,
Okay.
but enabling humans to become more the superhuman version of themselves means getting back time.
Yep.
Focusing on self-actualization and running really cool businesses. That's the executive version of this.
That's awesome.
The thing that you're talking about, and I'm gonna have to ask you here, is which one of those is your agent trained on? Do you know?
Well, if you can't tell, I'm probably a number 2. Very emotional and competitive,
Okay.
and passionate, and with a little touch of logic, right?
Yeah.
Sort of a
Interesting.
peacekeeper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you're describing a walking BS meter sensor of a body type,
Okay.
when in health is highly emotionally connected and authentic, but probably pretty competitive.
Absolutely.
And in max is highly analytical and creative, but also has a plan.
That's exactly it, man.
Okay. So your agent acts like that on your behalf. That's what you just described, Kevin.
That's it.
That's your Kevin.
That's Kevin.
Okay. So how would you make it better?
Well,
What else would you give it to make it more than just what we've described? Dream with me a bit.
as far as the platform goes, Snowfire or Kevin?
Well, keep in mind the platform could become hardware in the future.
Okay.
So Kevin could be an agent that actually is a roving device.
Okay. So
Kevin could sit in a boardroom on your behalf.
like a robot,
Maybe.
artificial
Why not?
robot body sitting there.
Why not? We're gonna dream a little bit
Name
here.
him Kirk.
Sure,
Kirk's
Captain
replacement.
Kirk.
Yeah.
That's right. That's exactly right. By the way, you also described a little bit of Captain Kirk when you gave the analysis, just so we're on the same page.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what would you do with it? Could you use that at home?
Yeah.
Could you use that in business? Could you use that in your personal?
Absolutely.
Can Snowfire become more than just a business
So
platform?
I saw something the other day, and I don't even know the name of the company, but somebody's making a deal where you can make virtual versions of yourself attend Zoom meetings.
The Avatar-y.
Yeah. And it's you and it's talking and it. Yeah.
So you know this story.
So you can be on 3 Zooms at once at the same time.
We were in Santa Fe last week, and I got an alert on my phone, and it was an update that a CEO had been kind of targeted with all of the video that he had provided and all of the audio from the video.
Okay.
That the avatar had recreated a scenario where an employee and that CEO had not good conversations.
Okay.
And it was a female employee who was then suing the CEO.
Okay.
This was all conjecture created by AI. It never happened. But the AI has all of this evidentiary support in video and audio of these conversations happening, but it never happened.
Right. Right.
How does that make you feel?
Well, as a owner of an executive of a cybersecurity company,
Right.
I'm both scared to death and extremely excited because I live in the world where countermeasures are the name of the game. So what I see is a way to secure companies against that, because that could be like loss of human life. I mean, obviously you're talking about lawsuits and things like that. I'm talking about, what if it's an AI version of the president making the wrong decision,
Or a doctor.
or a doctor making the wrong decision, back to the medical example.
That's exactly right.
That would be disastrous, right? And so there are gonna be, if not already, countermeasure companies, and we're gonna represent them.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that vision. Yeah, I love that vision.
Yeah.
You mentioned the president. One of the things that continues to come up is this Department of Governmental Efficiency thing that's happening right now.
Yeah.
And a lot of folks are up in arms about the inhumanity of it, the AI-centric focus of it.
Yeah.
And maybe it's the disconnect of humanity with it.
Yeah.
There's a fear that we're hearing from a lot of folks that are wondering, like, how does this manifest in the future? And I think you have to extend that to business, right? So the Department of Business Efficiency might become a thing. Can you and I talk about this and just banter for a couple of minutes?
An amazing topic. Yes, I'd love to talk about that because it's something I've thought about.
What would the government version of a Department of Business Efficiency, what would this Dobe version we're describing become? How would you envision building that? What would you do? Like, just kind of riff with me a bit here.
Well, just at a very basic, level 1 or level 2 standpoint right now, it's helping me because I've already mentioned it's helping BlackLake become more efficient.
Yeah.
Just with the few connectors that we've used to our data now, right? So let's exponentially accelerate that into the future to where we have that Department of Business Efficiency, keeping our company, staying efficient and even getting more, like every little ounce of every drop of efficiency we can get with the people we have, the processes we have in place, and the systems we have in place, right? To answer your question specifically, I want to keep the human aspects and the personality in with it. We talked about, what version of leader am I? And that's important to me, right? And I think that's a different level of importance to every human out there. So getting back to your Doge examples, I think that no matter what I think about it or you think about it, there's a right and a wrong. And so, there's going to be humans that think it's outrageous, and there's going to be humans that are cheering from the stands like a football game about it. There's going to be some that are right in the middle, right? And it's all because humans are complicated emotional beings that are all over the spectrum, no pun intended, right? And so there's right and wrong. It's not chocolate and vanilla. It's not opinions and editorials.
Yeah.
Did you show up to work or not? So I think the answer, and this is all coming from the gut, is the answer is keeping it right and wrong, keeping it ones and zeros. What is right and what is wrong is very simple. It's not up for discussion. Are you getting a paycheck, but you're not there, right? Now, me getting into, well, did you make enough calls? Why did you take lunch off to go to lunch for your birthday? Whatever. Now I'm getting to where I need to be slapped, right? That's invading the human element to be ultimately Ebenezer Scrooge efficient.
Interesting.
Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense to me. By the way, you've just described why we have 3 flavors of ice cream, that from chocolate to vanilla to strawberry, we ended up just making Neapolitan, just so we're on the same page on this. I think what you're describing is levels of harnessing human power,
Right.
harnessing human time.
We're not machines.
We are, and we're not meant to be, but we're talking about this ability to offload so much of the machining to AI. The things that we do that are monotonous, repeatable,
Yes.
are a part of the disdain that we have had for jobs, certain types of jobs. Creativity can be maximized with AI. And I gotta say, I'm very intrigued as an AI entrepreneur that we've amassed so much creative AI this early.
Oh my God.
It blows my mind. I thought it would be much more mathematical. It actually turns out mathematics are harder than we thought. AI does not do step function reasoning very well yet.
Right.
But it does, you have like Midjourney that creates images on the fly. You have avatarees that are being, I did not expect that.
Amazing.
I did not expect that reversal of order of operations for AI. It's very interesting. To your point, if you'll allow me to say something about the Department of Business Efficiency, I see a beautiful future for the shareholders.
Okay.
See a beautiful future for the price of the shares of companies, for shareholders, and the price of stock that relates to forward PEs and the price to earnings, getting back to my favorite metric, revenue per employee type of metric, where you're seeing a hyper efficiency gained in the business that enables those superstar human beings that were always meant to be in the business.
Right.
Take the next level.
Okay.
Go to the next phase. Do the next thing. Take on the next hardest project. And I think there's a beautiful vision for that, with that reduced monotony, reduced repetition, expanded creativity, hyper-focused problem solving.
Okay.
I think there's a beautiful future for that. And I think it's here now. I think we'll see it for the next 10 years. And then I think we're probably in the Terminator movies, unfortunately. So, and then, by the way, apparently the movie after that's the Matrix movies. So,
Right.
but to your point, there is a humanity about what we're building. With Snowfire, we've really focused on making the executive superhuman.
Okay.
And I think that's where we're going to be for quite a while. Is the executive now, you described a couple versions of this superhuman executive. One who's got a mobile device and taps dictation and says, "Hi, I'd like to have the numbers from last week of revenue closed. Thank you. I'd like to have our cumulative sales numbers. Thank you.
That's it.
I'd like to know, how many more people I have to hire this month to hit those 4x revenue growth targets that we have for the year. Thank you."
Well, it comes back with a real answer.
Yeah. Isn't that wild?
Every time. Yeah.
So that's superhuman version number 1. Let's elevate this a bit. You want to have that thing talk back to you. and say, Kirk, we found the answer. And by the way, there's a couple of different variances here to your cumulative growth question. We realize you want to go 4x this year.
Right.
We think you might need to hire 4 more individuals. And we've analyzed all of your metropolitan territory data from your sales opportunities. We suggest you should hire in Chicago, New York City, Boston, and San Francisco.
Yes.
How am I doing with this so far?
You're leading the witness.
Okay.
I love it.
It's talking back to you with contextualized intelligence that you didn't even ask for.
Right, right.
But it's a guidance device. We're almost there, by the way.
Okay.
We're almost there. We need a really sweet voice that you actually want to talk to. We'll have to probably give you a
guidance is the big thing. I mentioned earlier that, you run out of questions to ask it, but you're not there with your gut and your head yet to come up with what you needed for whatever answer you're looking for. And so you have to sit around and think about, oh yeah, wait a minute. What if I cross-reference it to this? Or what if but the fact that it helps you with suggested questions to then build the answers is where it's amazing.
That's the adaptive decision intelligence piece of what we've built. It's moving with you.
Yeah.
And by the way, you use them. I think I really like the way you describe this.
Yeah.
Those are building block questions. They're building on top of each other. You described that earlier. What if you hop from building to building? Does it stay with you?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're jumping from sales to financial data. It stays with you.
It does.
Okay.
As long as the system's connected, right?
Well, yeah. The AI's response to you, though, is suggesting the next set of things that you might want to explore.
Correct.
That's adaption, right? That's what's so powerful about this. One of the things that I have a huge vision for is this Boardroom piece of hardware. Imagine a world where, I mean, think of the most complicated boardrooms on the planet, these Fortune 50s.
Okay.
They're at the top of the skyscraper.
Yes, they are.
You got a table full of probably around 30 people for these boardrooms. They're not small. You've got everyone in there looking around the table, and all of them have logic and intuition and emotion that they're harnessing at the highest level.
Right.
They're some of the best executives on the planet. And now you add Snowfire, and it's listening to every word said, every metric shared, and it's calculating a variance, kind of like the needles jumping at a CIA, interrogation. But it's the meter for truth and accuracy.
It's awesome.
Can you imagine a world where Snowfire is not only in your pocket on the go as an executive for those answers, but in the boardroom in real time, helping maybe be connected to multiple screens, providing analysis across all of these components?
Let me ask you a question.
Please.
How can I trust it?
Yeah.
Now, when I say that, that's a very, very open-ended question. I don't necessarily mean trust it with my data and confidentiality and all that. But I feel
trust the answers.
Okay, there. I'm gonna trust the answers. Even I think the closer you are to where you could have that piece of hardware in there with us with those conversations, that's pretty cool. But let's say you're not there. Let's say you're where you are now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my CFO and my CRO at BlackLake are both using their version of their Snowfire instance. How can they trust the answers, right? Without that, I got to go verify this because it could cost me my job.
Yeah.
Like if that forecast is wrong too many times, you're not going to be running sales, right?
I would like to give you the answer at the end of a couple of statements.
Absolutely.
Number one, the CFO is going to purchase Snowfire, and it's a piece of hardware that they will depreciate.
Okay.
As an AI hardware device over time. So it's going to be a no-brainer for the purchase.
Okay.
And the strategy will make complete sense for having this because you're already recording your boardroom meetings. They're already being transcripted by Zoom or by something like a Gong. They're already doing sentiment analysis. They're looking at every individual who's speaking, how often. They're looking at the energy of the room. All of these things are already being done today.
I love that, by the way, not to get off on that discussion, but it has everybody's eyes up and participating and collaborating in meetings so much better than everybody's head down taking notes. So I already love that.
Yeah.
You're
so
right.
That future is the future that we dreamt of 10 years ago. That's today.
Right.
The future of what we're envisioning and maybe subscribing to here is a version where an AI is augmenting the accuracy of statements that are made against the data that's living in the Snowfire brain, the isolated data store for that company.
Back to the BS meter. What if there's a BS coming out of the sales leader? Does the red light go off?
I think we can, so let's build this right here. Let's you and I build the product here, right here together. My vision for this would be to take the sales, you said this is the example, we're going to go with it. The sales numbers for today, the sales numbers against last year, combine last year's trend and close with this quarter, because we're kind of analyzing Q1. So you're looking at already enough data to provide a forecasted trend line. I would give a standard deviation high and low, give a top and a bottom, which is basically your forecast based on what you have today. You'd have to analyze the propensity of pipeline. And then you'd be able to calculate where will we end up. So this CRO who's making a statement about a forecast and a prediction, first of all, if that person hasn't used Snowfire to do this, I would wonder why. But second of all, in the meeting, the AI would showcase on this visual television screen the month over month, year over year analysis, the trend to date, the forecasted trend line, the standard deviation north and south of that trend line. It should be able to do that and call out a variance, which would kind of be like a statement analyzer.
You're saying things like this. You're saying words talk, but numbers scream.
I'm also saying that this is kind of like the boardroom politico, where you're able to determine the accuracy of a statement on the fly.
I love it.
We have the ability to do that. Yeah.
So it's the other way.
Yeah, it's the other way.
That's great.
The question is, can we get every one of those boardroom executives to prepare properly that boardroom meeting screams? Lightning in a bottle.
I remember as an executive coming up in a company, you would take the numbers and then you would think about your audience. You'd think about how to present it. You think about, whatever the setting is, and you would build your presentation. And I'm not saying, gloss over the numbers, but you would form your
own, formulation
to make the meeting successful. Well, you're the right or wrong, man. It's the other way with AI, right? It's not just efficiency, it's correctness. It's the BS meter that you talk about, right?
We've skipped over something massive, that we have to go back to. In preparing for boardrooms, we have to look at who's in the boardroom.
True.
CEO, CFO, CRO, probably COO. There are many executives that are
maybe.
Bingo. Absolutely. Board members are going to be there. And so the company operatives are preparing for a boardroom. They're preparing. They'll stop almost everything for about a week. I'm going to throw out some numbers here. They're going to stop everything for about a week. That means that everything else is not being done because they're preparing for a boardroom. They're going to activate their teams. So it's not even just the executive. There's a downstream effect to the stopping.
All the way to the individual contributor.
Bingo. And here's what's concerning to me. Those teams are a CRO has rev ops. A marketing officer has marketing ops. A CFO has financial ops. COO has maybe customer success. Ops. And ops teams everywhere. And they're all working from different data sources.
They are.
They're all generating messages that are relative to a silo and what they have access to, rather than a harmonized, centralized intelligence platform that produces resonant frequency that will match when it comes to the boardroom. What I think is hilarious is all of these ops teams are producing these reports. And then at the end of that, they've all shuffled it somewhere where they're like, oh, wow, our numbers don't match up.
That's what I was trying to get at earlier. I was trying to gloss over it a little bit.
Our numbers aren't matching up.
Exactly.
So you've spent a week of time preparing. Every executive business unit stops. You've got these intelligent agents that are in the business. We call them human beings, and they're intelligent agents that are, someone's the smart one that's your go-to. Right? Someone's your go-to. Chief of staff, business intelligence teams. But you also are asking sensitive information. How are our numbers? What does our gross profit look like? What is our revenue per employee shaping up as? You're a publicly traded company. What are the going concerns? All of these things are being shuffled into a discussion to be narrated through. And what's hilarious is most companies, when it comes to the top, all of those executives start looking through their presentations and going, oh my gosh, we have to harmonize all these numbers. We have to modify these numbers to match,
Right.
or else we don't match.
Right. Right.
That's a problem.
It is.
That's a Snowfire solution.
It's a very good solution.
That all is centralized. So now all these executives can harness the same data set to prepare for those boardroom meetings. And we took a long time to get here, but that means your data warehousing solutions.
Yep. Yeah.
Should we name some names? Should we do it?
Sure.
All right.
I'm the one that's kind of worried about that, but I'm not going to worry anymore. Just
okay.
Go for it.
Well, this is the reality of the changing future. Companies that are doing so well and have done such a great job in harnessing data, like Snowflake,
right,
like Databricks,
right,
like SAP, okay, like Google Cloud, like Microsoft Azure,
okay,
like AWS.
Right.
These massive hyperscalers and data warehousing solutions are still not producing harmonized intelligence.
That makes sense.
We have an even bigger problem. Those solutions require massive amount of data engineering talent.
Right. Right.
It's not just the cost of sending the data. Writing all of the engineering on top of the data also is a massive cost. And then you're building all of these ops teams to individually connect into them. Mm-hmm. This is a advanced discussion for the Department of Business Efficiency. This is a very advanced future. Why are we doing so much of all of that when what we really need is to centralize the intelligence into a, maybe not combination of data lakes like you see today, but let's maybe combine all the lakes into an ocean.
Right.
An ocean of intelligence.
Got it.
And then from there, have all of them access that ocean, that centralized data store. Kind of like the vision we had for SAP in the 80s. Right?
I love it.
Put it all together in one place, access it in one place, and now you add the Snowfire AI on top of it. That's the boardroom prep of the future. It took me a long time to get there, but
technology is here. It's ready to go.
Yeah.
Processing power.
Are we maybe fulfilling the promise of the 80s?
So every person in the boardroom, accessing the same data sources to come up with a cohesive story.
Unified.
The
unified intelligent boardroom.
Yeah.
It's a pretty cool future.
Do you think it affects the business positively?
I think it will.
It should be.
Yeah, I think it will.
Exponentially, actually.
I also think what's interesting too is you make decisions in a boardroom. You make decisions. You approve and deny things from happening in the business. The most critical decisions are made there. What happens when you're tracking those? That decision was made. Here's the nays. Here's the yays. The yays have it. Decision goes forward. That's an impact event on the business. What about tracking that impact event connected to every one of the boardroom yays and nays in the future? We're not talking about the congressional oversight here.
Yep.
We're talking about that decision impact downstream effect.
That's outstanding.
Could be positive. Could be greatly positive. But yeah.
Completely.
Who voted nay? Who voted yay?
Back to the personalities and the human aspects.
Yeah.
Most likely.
Yeah.
Emotional.
Kirk.
Awesome.
It's always awesome talking with you. You've got an incredible mind, an incredible business, and you've got a really cool human spirit. And in this age of AI, we need more folks like you more than ever. I want to say thank you so much for your time today.
My pleasure. Thank you for the platform you built. What the effect it's had on our business has been exponentially amazing. And once again, we're in a point now where we are excited about where you guys are going, because we're going to have this to offer to our customers to really add value into not only their business, but also their own lives. And I appreciate what you guys are building. I'm excited, man. I'm along for the ride. Let's go.
Should we light all the data on fire?
No.